doctors prescribed bed rest, so while Bruce couldn't train, he turned to writing. His philosophy of martial arts, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, has been published in 9 languages. But Bruce willed himself to start training again. Ignoring doctors' orders, he went back to work.
Even though he could do those fabulous fight scenes that you see in the movies, afterwards it was always ice and heat and stretching and rest, and it was a trial.
Bruce capitalized on his box office success and took near total control of his 3rd film, Return of the Dragon. Not only did he star, write, and direct, he choreographed all the fight scenes. Bruce Lee broke new ground in martial arts filmmaking. For the location, he chose Italy. The film was the first Chinese movie ever shot in Europe. For the fight scenes, instead of actors or stuntmen, he cast real martial arts champions. Bob Wall played thugs in 3 Bruce Lee films. Bruce liked the way he sold a punch. He was adept at taking whatever Bruce dished out, especially kicks to the groin.
He was very clever about knowing what the Chinese audience looked for, what they wanted. The Chinese like to see him get kicked in the groin. They like that extra pain because they felt psychologically they'd been kicked in the groin for a lot of years.
Bruce wanted the climactic scene in Return of the Dragon to be the ultimate fight. His first choice for a worthy opponent was Joe Louis. Joe missed an opportunity of a lifetime. Bruce turned to karate champ Chuck Norris for the Coliseum battle. The fight scene is lauded by fans as one of the best ever. It helped launch Norris's career in the movies. Again, Return of the Dragon surpassed the record set by his previous 2 films. Riding a wave of success, Bruce planned a new film to be his crowning achievement. Game of Death was to feature a remarkable mismatch. The 5'7" martial arts star battled his 7-foot-tall student, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Bruce wanted to make it a depiction of the problems he had boxing me. Basically all of our little episodes in the backyard. And the problems I presented to him with my reach and my relative quickness for someone of my size.
Game of Death was barely underway when Hollywood finally noticed Bruce Lee. He got an offer so attractive that he stopped shooting Game of Death and started on the movie that crowned him a martial arts superstar.
Warner Brothers presents Enter the Dragon, the first martial arts film produced by a major Hollywood studio.
He understood that this picture was going to be his showcase to Hollywood and to the West, and so he wanted it to be as good as it could be.
Martial arts movies had never seen this level of production. The budget was 6 times that of Fists of Fury. But when the movie started shooting in Hong Kong, the Hollywood producers were confronted with a serious dilemma. Bruce was so nervous, he couldn't face the camera. The crew shot every scene they could without Bruce.
Bruce was terribly nervous when we started filming. Very nervous. We were shooting for 2 weeks almost, and Bruce hadn't showed up yet. I was telling Warner Brothers the rushes are sensational, and Bruce hadn't showed up yet.
I could sense he was very nervous. His voice was like a cheese cutter. I mean, it was like a wire, you know. And I could almost swear that he was ready to levitate off the ground. He was like so wired.
But in fairness to Bruce, whatever nervousness there was the first 2 or 3 days of filming was completely gone by the end of the first week. And it was back to business as usual.
turned his nervousness into productive energy. The shoot was strenuous and not without problems. Both cast and crew had to struggle with language barriers. And much like a gunslinger in the Old West, Bruce faced real showdowns every day.
Everybody was always trying to challenge Bruce. It was part of the macho kind of thing that went on.
Never one to back down, Bruce accepted one challenge from an actor on the set.
It was a stupid kid who was saying something to him in Cantonese. And I think he said, well, why? The kid was sitting on, like Simple Simon. I swear, he was sitting on a wall, you know. And he said, well, why don't you come down, you know? And the kid did.
All of a sudden, I could just see it in his eyes. I saw his eyes change. And he immediately went into too bad guy. And he kicked the out of this guy. And when that was done and he backed off, he smiled, helped the guy up, and said, back up on the wall.
The film's climax was shot in a room filled with thousands of mirrors. The signature fight scene almost didn't happen because Bruce did not think it would work.
Bruce did not want to do it. Bruce did not want to do it. And it fought all of us on it. But once he got into it, like everything, Bruce, once he got it, he made it better. You know, that was the other part that makes him great. He took it, developed it, and made it better. And that's what was wonderful.
Despite the triumph of filming his first Hollywood movie, there was no time for rest. In May of 1973, an exhausted Bruce Lee went straight to work dubbing the film's dialogue. It was hot in the studio, and he excused himself. Minutes later, a crew member found him passed out in a lavatory. Bruce came to, but then lost consciousness again and went into convulsions.
Of course, we had no idea what in the world was the matter. So I rushed to the hospital, and Bruce was unconscious, and they didn't know what was wrong.
And Bruce was on the brink of death, but pulled back. He could well have passed away on May 10th. But he came back and was alive, but it scared him, as it would anybody who didn't know what triggered it.
Bruce visited the best doctors in Los Angeles for a battery of tests.
I didn't know he was in town. I said, Joe, what are you doing here? And so on. He says, well, I got to go see the doctor and something like that. And then he said something, you know, very grave, like, maybe there won't be a Bruce Lee. And I thought, what are you talking about? I mean, those are grave words. Maybe there won't be a Bruce Lee. It's a kind of crazy premonition in a way.
The test results were surprising. They showed absolutely nothing wrong.
We don't really know what caused that. He was under a lot of stress, but the medical report from the doctors in the United States pronounced him in perfect health.
And he was excited. He was the same old Bruce again. I mean, his color was coming back, and certainly he hadn't gained his weight back, but he said, doctors said, body of an 18-year-old.
Reassured, Bruce headed back to Hong Kong to complete Game of Death and face his final challenge. Months after getting a clean bill of health, Bruce Lee returned to work on Game of Death. July 20th, 1973, Bruce faced a day full of meetings.
I was actually with him the day he passed away. He seemed fine. It's fair to say that he was excited but tired. That particular day, the only thing he complained about was having a headache.
That evening, Bruce went to the home of a friend to work on a script. Still complaining of a headache, he took some medication and lay down to rest.
I think late in the evening, maybe about 10 o'clock or something, I got a phone call saying Bruce had been taken to the hospital, and so I rushed over to the hospital, and Bruce was not there, had not come in yet, and so hanging around the hospital, not knowing what's going on, and talking to the staff at the hospital.